Paige O'Malley is a puppeteer, stage actor, and voice actor. In part one of the Swazzle Lunch Break, Sean talked to Paige about her innovative theater company, We Happy Few. And he talked about the work that she did in our production of The Little Prince. Sean started the conversation off by asking Paige how she got started in puppetry.
Yeah, I've been doing puppetry for many, many years. I kind of really got my feet wet at a place called Puppetonia that was based in New Jersey, and we did traveling shows, and we also had a weekly show that we did. I did like 14 shows a week there, and I became the artistic director and was writing shows and DJing, which was my favorite part. And it was like a real interactive kind of mommy and me kind of guerrilla style, I call it, where the babies are just climbing all over you and it's very hands-on. So that was sort of where I developed. I mean, I never picked up a puppet before, and I just went to the audition for Puppetonia, and they were really cool. The founders, Cornel Rusu and Carmen Rusu, who still can carry on the tradition, are from Romania, and they came here with nothing and started an amazing like community space, this used bookstore, which is the only one in Hoboken right now. And they're still going strong. I love them. They're my mentors, and they really taught me everything just by putting me on a stage and being like, here, figure out how to puppet.
I love the idea of someone just saying like, I'm gonna do that, and then just doing it, because I feel like a lot of people say like, well, how do you start as a puppeteer? I mean, for me, my first shows when I was 13, I was terrible. Like, stand-up comedians don't start funny. You don't even end funny. Yeah, you gotta build your chops. So do you really feel like, having that experience was sort of like the kind of like the foundation that your continuing puppet work was sort of built upon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I never would have considered myself a puppeteer prior to that. I just didn't have ownership over it. I was a theater practitioner, so that was like where I was coming from, doing a lot of musical theater, Shakespeare. I started out actually in high school at a community theater doing participatory shows for kids, where we kind of, it'd be in a real auditorium, lots of kids, but we kind of drag them up on stage and like give them a prompt, and then they stand there like really scared, and like some of them cry, and it's a little awkward, but it's also the power of their how much they buy in to whatever you want to imagine for them, and kind of go with you on the journey rather. It just kind of struck me, and that's why, even though I feel like people rag on kids theater, and I don't get why, because I think it's really amazing and really special, and I miss doing it live. I've been, in my little room with my good vibes shelf back here for the past year, and I'm just trying to get into more of a digital forum and see what that's like, because I've always just been a live actor mostly.
Did you study theater in school, or were you like a theater major, or did you just sort of start doing it?
I just started doing it. I was like definitely a theater nerd. I started in like middle school. I think I'm trying to think, the first show I ever did was Annie, actually. Annie, yeah. So I played the star to be in the song NYC, which I always thought was like adorable and prophetic, because I moved to New York to go to NYU, and that's how I met the Puppetonia family. And so it was just funny, because that character just got to NYC, has big dreams, has 2 suitcases and no money, and is so gullible and is going to get taken advantage of immediately. Yeah. But basically, picture me like really chubby with like braces, glasses, a rat tail, like all this like 90s gear, and just being like NYC, like just like so into it, lisping my little heart out. So that was where I got the bug, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's just continued on since then. I love that energy exchange. Can't get enough of it.
And now at some point you came out to California, because that's where we first met. We first met in California, And I was trying to I know the first show we did together, but I was trying to remember how we met. Did you audition for us? How did
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
I did.
great.
It was awesome. I went to an audition for Avenue Q at somewhere in Santa Monica. Can't remember the name of the theater. It was a while back because I'm in DC now. Been living here for about 5 or 6 years already. But I was in LA for a good chunk of time when my partner was going to grad school at UCLA. So we moved to Westwood, and yeah, auditioned for Avenue Q. Really hit a sour note in the callback during Fine Fine Line. It was just that one note, and like didn't get that, but they were like, hey, you know what, you'd be good for this tour we got going on of a bilingual puppet musical that's an original work with amazing puppets by this company Swazzle, and come audition. You know, I thought it was like a long shot. I didn't know. I had never done a tour before. But
Neither we had never done a tour before.
Oh wow, that's
was
amazing.
That was the first. I'm sensing a trend in you, which I think is a good takeaway. Is you are a jump in person. You're a do it person. Like there are people that think about doing stuff, but I feel like you are a jump in. I've never done this before. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do puppetry. I'm gonna do this tour, and now you're jumping into this this kind of crazy online world. I think that's just a really positive approach. I almost wish more people had that kind of like, we're just gonna jump in and do it, because we're sort of that way. We never did a national tour before, and here we are.
You did it big. You did it real big. So well done, because that was. I felt like an absolute rock star on that tour. I mean, we played to huge houses, beautiful theaters, and it was so fun. And I think I was really happy because speaking of, you asked me before, what did I study in undergrad at NYU?
Yeah.
I actually did Spanish language, and I double majored Spanish and art therapy.
Oh, interesting.
Under the umbrella of like creative arts therapies, because I thought, if I wanted to go on to grad school, I would have become an art therapist proper, but I just didn't have the funds for continuing education. And I feel like I practice it in my work, like for myself, for others all the time. So
don't you, I mean, doesn't the world need like art and therapy more than anything right now? Like, aren't we seeing that universal need for, and the way that the arts can bring people together,
yes.
Even if you can't see a live performance, people are still coming together through the arts.
Absolutely. And really in really interesting ways. And I'm sure that there are lots of creators who have been doing digital projects for many years, but as like live theater people, we're sort of like, oh wait, there's ways to get our work out there that's not just very immediate and very like a bit of a commitment,
Yeah.
Come here, and we can have more global reach. So even though this is not a new concept, it's new and exciting for myself and my theater company, We Happy Few. We are doing fast-paced classical work, physical devised theater, and trying to bring people in to redefine what is a classic, and especially in light of all the civil rights push that's honestly been going on this year more than ever, and last year. We want to highlight new artists of color and find works that have been kind of hidden or like erased by history, and kind of abridge them a lot, really add a lot of almost like comedia style punchy jokes, acting. And so that was our brand prior to the quarantine, and now we've pivoted to making audio dramas.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Interactive as well, where we'll mail you a box. So like, okay, wow, theater in a box. And basically, like, we're doing Sherlock mysteries right now. We just did a Loveday Brooke mystery by Louise Perkis, who was a visionary in her time, an absolute amazing mystery writer, just as great as you know, any other of her male contemporaries, but not as well known. But we're getting her work out there in audio format with a lot of fun Foley and sort of interactive clues you can play along. And so it's been really fun and getting to use my voice work.
I'm definitely intrigued when you say you send someone a box. Like, okay, I sign up for this Sherlock Holmes box. Like, what do I get? What is this? What is this theater experience in my home?
Yeah. Well, our company's had a lot of fun, like having virtual meetings to devise all of this together. Yeah. It's a very collaborative process. So that's why I love working for them. And they're just such an equitable company. So shout out to them. Check out their website, We Happy Few DC.
We Happy Few DC. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's basically like world building stuff. Aside from clues where you kind of, as you're listening along, it'll be like, you get a prompt, not as like heavy-handed as open the clue now, but it's like something you have to listen to and like listen for, and then you're like, okay, now I know to open this, and you kind of play along. And then there are other elements. I don't want to give anything away. We have a really fun Poe series that I do the voice of death, and I read a lot of Poe poems, and we're working on a second version of that. So that had some really fun stuff, like a lace mask or a little champagne bottle. I think I have it over here somewhere. Yeah, like this little champagne bottle full of bubbles. You know, just like fun little world building things for like the Mask of the Red Death. Like put your mask on, get your bubbles out, listen to, you know, this audio drama with us, and get spooked like in your house with your family, you know?
I have a hunch. I don't know for sure, but I have a hunch that a lot of the new skills that we're learning, a lot of the new workarounds, a lot of the new world that has formed over this past year, a lot of this is going to continue, whether it's remote work, whether it's audio visual. Do you think that this theater will continue to bring in some of these, elements once things are opened up? Like, do you see that in continuing into the future? Like even in a theater live setting?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that we will see a push towards like more multimedia work, which is, as someone who, I'm a big fan of collage. Like I always, used to be analog, just like cutting little pictures out of magazines and making my collages. And then it's sort of graduated more recently, especially into this new style of digital short kind of animated puppet things that I'm doing, which I'm putting on my new TikTok as of last week. Follow me, okay.
What's your TikTok? Just real quick there.
It's at Penny Pancakes with 3 S's on the end. Penny Pancakes.
Everyone follow.
Thank you. I'm trying to get up to 1,000 followers so I can start going live on there, because I used to actually do a really great little weekly puppet show in another used bookstore here in DC called Walls of Books, which is now closed. But I had such a beautiful following of kids there that I saw every Wednesday morning. I want to get that vibe again. And I want, so if I could go live, I could kind of just do a little story half hour, or like just something simple, like the stuff that I've been doing for years, but can just kind of do it in a new way. Even with the aesthetic distance, it's still nice to, get to see people like you across the country.
Right. Absolutely. I want to mention one of the favorite projects that we did together was our Little Prince tour. And I feel like not only you and the whole fantastic cast that we had on that production, I just feel like it was a really special production. So I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about that show, performing that show.
Yeah. Well, maybe my friend could help you.
Oh, you have a friend?
Hey!
Yeah. People might not know this, but we are prone to sending out goodies after shows have wrapped. Oh, good. You got the Little Prince there. Yeah.
And then I made a rose for him.
Oh, nice. It's such an emotional show. I feel like with this production, we sort of achieved another kind of like a different level. One thing that I remember is that the writer of the script came to the production where was that, in Philadelphia?
That was in PA, yeah, because that's where I'm from. So I remember that. My mom came to that one, and I think we had some of the Mystery Science Theater folks there. That was a big day, yeah.
Oh, good. It was like a little homecoming for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I just remember that his feedback to us, because he wrote us a really beautiful note afterwards, is that he actually the show made him cry. And I feel like when you're so familiar with the material, you almost are kind of like divorced from the emotional element of it.
Yeah.
And so to be able to touch him emotionally, I think really spoke to you all as performers.
And
because,
the majesty of like the set and the puppets, like everything was really like came together into such a magical, a beautiful philosophical show, which it already is, like in the writing of it. And then his adaptation was really nice. Like I really liked what we were able to do with that.
I agree. It was definitely a great adaptation. There was one moment that I'm pretty proud of. It's very simple, but it kind of speaks to the power of like children's theater when it's at its best. Because like you mentioned before, children's theater has sort of like children's theater, like people don't really, this may be kind of more of like a negative connotation. But I feel like children's theater in some ways is like the most vital theater out there, because if you can't get children to appreciate theater, you're not going to have adult patrons supporting theater. And I feel like one moment that stands out, and this actually was mentioned by the writer of the script, is when Ray, who's playing the aviator, Ray Castro, is holding the prince, and the prince is lifeless at this moment, and he just kind of brushes his hair. He just moves his hair aside when he said one of the lines. And that was a specific moment that we had worked on. And the writer just said it was so touching because it was just so human and so real. And it's not even in the words. It's just in the the real emotion. And I just feel like it's essential for kids to have those types of experiences.
Absolutely. And he's the little prince himself, like in writing and then in puppet form, the way you brought him to life and then the way I was able to work with him was such a pleasure and such a joy. And I think that people could feel that. It was also really nerve-wracking because it's he really drives the story, so like there isn't a lot to like fall back on, and I felt a lot of pressure because I wanted to do really well. I really wanted it. It's such a powerful story. I wanted to do it justice, so it was nerve-wracking, but at the same time it was just unparalleled, like to have the kids, like they love to buy into like silly, crazy, zany TikTok, blah, like all of that, but they also love, to be acknowledged and their emotions validated by letting them in on, the bigger questions in life, because I think people shield them from that often. And I think that lends less of a locus of control to them for navigating it.
And I feel like a show like The Little Prince is, in its actual reading, it sort of has these dreamlike elements. It's sort of more poetry than prose in lots of ways. And people might see that as inaccessible for children, but I disagree. I think it is just exactly the type of theater that I wish there was more of for kids, frankly.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'll never forget, especially we were, I think it was the Smith Center in Vegas.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That place is
amazing.
And now I performed there twice, thanks to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. That was incredible.
Really good food backstage too, which is like,
so good.
That's why we do this.
And they bust the kids in. It's a great house. The crew is amazing.
Oh my God. That was so great. So just, I have very vivid memories of the very end of the show, which if y'all haven't read it, the prince sort of self-sacrifices ultimately to get back to his Rose, who is somewhere very ephemeral.
Yeah.
And it involves, an act of violence in the end, which is really powerful and could be scary. And like, I'm sure there were moments, but like, basically you could hear a pin drop in a room of thousands and thousands of kids, you know, like it's unbelievable. The power of that moment and how I could feel everyone was with me. And it made me, I mean, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. It made me emotional every time because it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful narrative. And it's important that we go on, we kind of all get proximal to those emotions, even though they're tough.
Yeah. And I should say at that moment, Carla Rudy, another fantastic puppeteer, who I mentioned before, was playing the snake. And that was another moment where we really wanted to play the tension, because the prince at that moment is saying, I'm ready. And we really wanted to play the tension, because again, it's letting children have an emotional experience in sort of like a guided and safe environment, like theater.
Oh, like art therapy.
Like art therapy.
Oh my God.
Well, it comes back full circle. I told you to do art therapy.
Join us for part 2 of our conversation with stage actor and puppeteer Paige O'Malley, where we'll learn how she creates signature characters, including her newest character, Penny Pancakes. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Swazzle Lunch Break.